this is another Steve Descano story. He's a Soros DA. He has dropped all charges against an illegal alien who was and a child sex offender who tried to kidnap. We've got him. Oh, great. Okay, let's bring him in. We've got Sean Kennedy with us. He's president of Virginians for Safer Communities. Sean, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
No worries.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Look, I'm just introducing this story. I just got done saying, oh, look, it's another disturbing story out of Fairfax. I feel like, when is this going to end, right? And, of course, maybe it'll end when Steve Descano is no longer in office. But why don't you explain to us about this case of Descano? I can't even believe this story, who has dropped charges against an illegal alien who tried to kidnap and rape a 4-year-old.
Yeah, so Hiram Bacandano Rodriguez illegally entered the United States in August 2018 and was arrested for it and then presumably released. A few years later, before his 21st birthday, he committed indecent exposure against a child, first in 2021 and then again in spring 2022, violated his bail, then began a series of breaking and entering throughout the rest of the summer and fall of 2022, then failed to appear and went fugitive, violated his probation, and then by June 2023, he broke into the home of a 4-year-old and tried to kidnap her with the intention of sexually assaulting a 4-year-old. She screamed, and her mother got her, scared him, and he ran away. They arrested him a few days later. This made huge headlines. Obviously, the Fairfax County police went, to the media and said, we need to catch this guy. They caught him. He sits in jail. The following year in May, a judge by the name of Randy Bellows, who's one of the good guys in Fairfax County, said, this decision is crazy, and I'm not giving him less than 2 years. By the way, all those previous charges, he has 7 previous arrests and 30-plus charges related to those burglaries and indecent exposure charges that would have gotten him over 30 years in prison if he were fully adjudicated, but almost all of them were dropped. He got 3 months collectively for all of those previous charges. So he would have been in jail for 30 years, but instead he was free to do this. The judge says, no way. Both defense and the prosecutor said there will be immigration consequences. He's illegally present. Oh, no. And the judge is like, this is not a reason to deny justice to a 4-year-old.
Right.
This is a horror show. I think he even says in the hearing plea, this is a nightmare of every parent.
Sean,
There's no way I'm going to deal this deal. So then it goes to a new judge, and just on Friday, the second judge said the same thing with a new deal. This is crazy. No way. So the petulant DA dropped all the charges.
Steve Descano. Let's say his name. Steve Descano.
Steve Descano, the Soros-funded DA, got $800,000 from George Soros and maybe more. And he dropped all the charges against this convicted child sex predator. And then, God bless them, outside the jail, he was going to be released that evening after this 11 o'clock hearing. ICE was waiting for him. And ICE picked up Rodriguez, and he's sitting in a federal detention center right now with a one-way ticket to Honduras.
Nice.
So he's Honduran. That was going to be one of my questions here. I mean, the thing that gets me about this is there is, Julie, a complete fetishization on the part of whether it's some of these judges, and thankfully the judges in this case were rightly deeply troubled by this. But the Soros-funded prosecutors, the fetishization of illegal immigrants. If you or I had 30 pending charges against us, there's no possible way we would have gotten anything under the maximum sentence in this kind of a situation, and yet, this DA and Sean, you're saying it's out of spite. I mean, it wasn't. There's no possible way that Descano was like, well, something. If I drop the charges, he can be deported.
Exactly.
Right. There's no possible way.
We don't want to give Descano an inch, but.
Yeah. Someone else mentioned this. No, I understand that's what they did, what Cash Patel and Pam Bondi did in the MS-13 case out of Woodbridge. No, this wasn't sort of a gambit. Actually, Steve Descano has a memo out in December 2020, which he flagrantly posts on his website. No one reads it, but whatever. And it talks about how charging decisions shall be made in consideration of immigration consequences. And I know from sources within his office that he has a two-tier system. We're seeing this particularly with DUIs. If you go through the list of all the DUI cases that have been filed over the last few years, the outcomes are disproportionate.
Right.
And it's strange because the percentage of people who are likely illegally present who are committing DUI is disproportionate to their overall volume, and yet their consequences are limited. And I'll tell you a funny story about how this fetishization occurs and what it happened in a different place. Andrew, I think, are you from New York?
Originally, yeah.
Originally, or Jersey? You're from Jersey. Okay, New York. In 2014, there was a law passed and signed at the behest of Governor Cuomo that was to reduce the maximum penalty for DUI to 364 days. Why? Because it's considered an aggravated offense if you get anything that is up to allowed, not it's sentenced to, but allowed to be a year or more. So they made it less than a year intentionally so that DUIs committed by illegals are not deportable offenses in New York. That is how they fetishize this, that they want to avoid letting these people face consequences. In this case, he didn't face consequences in court because of the prosecutor's malfeasance. And now, truly, I mean, the word I can only use here is petulance. He's throwing a fit and taking his ball and going home. Luckily, ICE showed up.
Listen, I feel like we could talk for another hour about this. This is a really important story, Sean. Thank you for covering it. Thank you for coming on. And please keep us updated on this. Just absolutely shameful behavior from Steve Descano. Thanks again for coming on.
I also want to flag one thing. There's a different case about a abuser who tried to kill his baby's mother in Alexandria, that the victim will be interviewed by WSA, CBS, and by NBC4, and those interviews will air tonight. Great. About how she was screwed over by Descano. So keep watching the news. There's Great. More to come. This is really an outrage.
Thanks so much, Sean. We'll keep updated on this. It's 8:44.